What is going on, everybody? Welcome into another edition of the Daily Energy News Beat Stand-Up here on this gorgeous Monday, August 28th, 2023. As always, I'm your humble correspondent, Michael Tanner, coming to you from an undisclosed location here in Dallas, Texas, joined by the executive producer of the show, the purveyor of the show, and the director and publisher of the world's greatest website, energynewsbeat.com, Stuart Turley. My man, how we doing today?
Hey, doing great. I'm here in an undisclosed location in the bunker, so you got to love it.
Yeah, it looks a little better than what we're dealing with here. Hopefully it's not 3,000 degrees where you're at. We're still sweating it out here in Dallas.
Yeah, it's going to be 80 degrees today.
Oh, you got it good there. We got to love Bear Country. We have a fantastic show for you lined up. Stu, as always, brings the fire here after the weekend. We hope you guys had a good weekend as well here on this Monday. Meetings, they'll be short, they'll be quick, then you'll be out of here, and you'll be on to the rest of your week. First up on our menu, Biden admin's latest home appliance crackdown, ceiling fans. You've got to be kidding me. That's all that needs to be said about this new one. You have got to be kidding me. Next up, Marathon to shut third largest U.S. oil refinery after storage tire fire. This is not good. We found out of this actually on Friday, so Stu's cover what's going on with Marathon. This one is just outright spooky, Stu. Red China's threat to the U.S. electric grid. You know, the CCP always coming back to screw us, like the CIA, 6 ways to Sunday. We'll end with kind of a pack of 3 stories around BRICS. First up, BRICS will control 80% of the world's oil production by January 2024. Holy smokes. BRICS economic bloc expands, adding Iran, Argentina, UAE, Saudi Arabia, Egypt, and Ethiopia. Done. We have the fallout from BRICS. Stu will cover that. And then finally, this is a more of a overview article on what this new BRICS expansion is going to bring. BRICS expansion is beneficial, but it also isn't without strategic challenges. Stu will creep us out over the latest happenings with BRICS. He'll then kick it over to me. I'll cover quickly what happened in the oil markets this weekend. We were up on Friday up about 1 percentage points. I'll quickly cover what's going on with rig counts, and then we'll let you get on out of here and start your week. We hope it's a great one. Before we do all that, guys, remember, all the stories and analysis you're about to hear are brought to you by the world's greatest website, www.energynewsbeat.com, the best place for all of your energy news. You can check us out, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube. Subscribe anywhere. Leave us a review. Leave a comment. We really appreciate everybody interacting with the show and giving us feedback. You can interact with us, questions at energynewsbeat.com. Check us out, dashboard.energynewsbeat.com. It's our new data news product combo, hard at work at V2, guys, so please check it out there. You can find Stu and me both on LinkedIn. Let's dive right in, though, Stu. Where do we want to begin?
Well, let's go ahead and start with my buddy Biden. I do a better. Do what?
Best bud Biden.
Oh, my goodness. I do a better Putin imitation than I do Biden because I don't want to poop in my pants. Okay, so let's start here. Dude, this is just going to be hilarious. Biden admin, latest home appliance crackdown, ceiling fans. Michael, they were going after the stoves. New York State has already banned gas, and then they released last week, we talked about it, 48% increase in electricity because of their bans. Let's go after this one. This rule would require numerous small business fan manufacturers to redesign their products and may put between a 10 and 30% of small business ceiling fan manufacturers out of business. This is nuts. It's a minor change for control for the U.S. to be able to control your
But Stu, according to the Energy Department's analysis, this new rule will save you $39 over the lifespan of your ceiling fan, which you buy maybe once.
Right. And then $39, and it's going to add $75 to the cost of it at the upfront.
Absolutely.
So your cost of capital means that it's actually quadrupling the cost of this stupid thing.
Absolutely. Because unless you can, because think about it, for anyone who doesn't have an economics degree, for this to make sense, the cost of a ceiling fan would have to be less than $39. What's your average ceiling price fan right now? I don't know. Let's go to homedepot.com. So what do you think the average price, Stu, of a ceiling fan is? $100?
120.
120? We're doing this in real time. Let's see here. I'm going to go 150 because I think I just purchased one.
I did too, but I went cheap.
You went the cheap one, the automatic one? Yeah, 140 bucks. 375 if you want an ergonomic one. So the point is, guys, this rule is idiotic. Now you can. The cheapest one is $44. The cheapest one is $44.
Okay, and it's about this big for my podcast listeners. I'm holding it up, and it's about 12 inches, long right here. So when you sit back and take a look, it's just small. Okay, now all of these stories are going to weave in together, and it's going to be fun because our weave that I wear on my head is going to match these storylines. Let's go to the marathon. This one is just a little tough. This one really is kind of like outlying out there. Marathon to shut in third largest U.S. oil refinery after storage tank fire. Our hearts just go out for anybody in any disaster. Diesel prices rose 5% while futures jumped about 4%. The outage threatens to deplete already low distillate stockpiles at a time when U.S. demand for the fuel is set to rise going into the harvest and heating seasons. This is going to impact the southern half of the states, the Midwest, but it's going to only impact the upper Northeast because they're still importing from Spain, which is Russian crude that's sanctioned. So they're still on a higher price in the eastern seaboard. So
still, that Mississippi River is critical to get commodities up to that Northeast. It's a critical juncture point. So this is only going to hurt the consumer. Now, the interesting part is, are they actually going to do an investigation to find out what happened here? Or is it?
I do hope it's, just a lightning strike. It's something like that. But, we're going to move on that. And our hearts go out to it. We'll follow it. Yes. It's a big price impact. Michael, I got 3 stories for BRICS and for our a little inside baseball on our successful podcast that we have is because of you, your diligence, your millennial outlook on life, and you and I fight. I mean, we discuss these stories.
I was looking who you were talking about. I was trying to find to see him.
You and I argue or discuss about these stories, and I have to defend my stories to you. No, this is boom, 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 boom. You always want to boom a story or two. I got 3 in here on BRICS coming around the corner and China's impacting the U.S. This is some
scary BRICS stuff. I think we need to start from the top, though. So let's start with what happened in BRICS. We've been scaring people for months about BRICS expansion. We've been applying for BRICS. I'm sorry to say we did not get approved into BRICS. Who did get approved? Let's start there. What happened?
Okay. Miss Producer, could you we're going to bring in several slides on this for our podcast listeners. The first slide coming around the corner is from our random dude on Substack. And I really like Andrew Korbachev, and he is a Russian PhD now. He just got his PhD. BRICS was originally Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. And in January 2024, they are going to be Argentina, Egypt, Ethiopia, Iran, Saudi Arabia, and the UAE are joining. These 11 countries have combined population of 37 billion people. Okay.
3.7 billion.
Yeah, 37. Sorry. Thank you for fact checking me in real time.
That's your Oklahoma State education there, folks.
I can't argue, dude. They issued me crayons, and I programmed in Fortran on a card key punch. So
that's insane. So read me that again here. Let me get this right. On top of Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, that's the original BRICS. Now we've got Iran, Argentina, UAE, Saudi Arabia, Egypt, and Ethiopia. How did Ethiopia get in there?
I don't know, but I guarantee it. They've got some IR.
It's rigged. The election was rigged.
Okay, now listen. Think about this. The other article is in there, and it is now the new composition control of 80% of the world oil production. This coincides with Andrew's article in many ways, but it documents how wild this is. Let me go back to Andrew's article here. I brought that in just as a particular moment. This is what I said in my publisher's note. Excellent overview of BRICS expansion. It is clear that the new members are a solidification of the BRICS Bank and the global financial model changing. The other geopolitical implications are significant. The new BRICS bloc will control over 80% of the oil and gas reserves. This is effectively ending the United States' ability to weaponize the dollar and complete Western culture's falling into decline. I recommend subscribing to Andrew Corbacho's random Substack of the Day guy newsletter. He is not found in mainstream media. I don't agree with everything he says, but holy smokes, he brings his A game there. So here's where it gets, he brings up the financial part, Mike and Michael, and I want your opinion. The BRICS monetary, and I'm going to call it the BRICS block because this is not BRICS plus. I'm calling it. I created the BRICS block because it's now a block of BRICS. Pretty good pun, but it's the financial bank is going to be most likely the yuan, and it's also going to be kind of like the McDonald's playground because if you want to join BRICS, you're going to join the BRICS monetary system. So it's like the entry into BRICS, you're going to join their monetary system. They also came out with a note and said, oh, by the way, we're not going to interfere with the US dollar as the global standard, but he documents in here that it's going to help accelerate the dollar to India's ruble, to Russia's ruble. I mean, it is absolutely going to eliminate the United States as a world bully. Absolutely.
I think the most important part of all of this, first off, there's nothing funner than getting to watch Stu read his own writing because you can just see you can see him understand the errors that he's made in writing in the grammar, and he's trying to make the sentence make sense. So we'll go clean that up before everybody sees that. First off, second off, you brought up the most important part is that BRICS is going to control 80% of the world's oil production by January 2020. That's absolutely insane. I think the fallout from BRICS specifically is you talk about moving to the BRICS currency. I don't think the BRICS currency is really on the table yet. I think what's going to happen is exactly what you mentioned. They're going to shift to probably the yuan, maybe the ruble, maybe something than India transactions, but they are going to now, OPEC is essentially dead now. BRICS now probably becomes the major player when it comes to oil and gas. Prices go up, prices go down, and now there's other interests. It's going to be interesting, including Ethiopia in there, Argentina, now you've got, obviously Brazil was in there before Saudi Arabia, but how does Saudi fit in with all of this, specifically with the other geopolitical things around there? I think it's critical that the United States begins to increase its oil and gas production because this is going to become a problem in the near future if they decide to be like, well, no, we're good on oil. We're good on sending on shipments to the U.S. Hey, we're good on this. I mean, we get a lot of our oil from around the world. I mean, yes, Canada and the United States make up the majority of our own domestic consumption, but we still rely on other things. Europe, I think, is in trouble. If I would be scared if I was sitting in Europe right now, thinking about how everybody around me is ganging up on me, and if Russia doesn't get me with the gas, now Saudi might get me with the oil.
I'm going to throw this squirrel in. Okay. It is a very ugly squirrel with big teeth. And so you've got, not only do we need heavy oil because of our refineries, if we had the Keystone pipeline, this might not even be an issue. It is that significant. So when you take a look at heavy oil, Brazil, we are sanctioning the snot out of Brazil. Brazil is where we have to get a lot of our heavy oils. Then you take a look at India, Russia, China, and everybody else on this. Who are we sanctioning around the world, Michael? Iran, Saudi Arabia.
Everybody in BRICS.
Everybody in BRICS. This is 100% the cause of the U.S., period.
All I want to know is, why did our application to BRICS get denied, Stu? What did we do wrong?
They did not like my President Biden imitation. They thought I was too close, and they thought I was okay when I was imitating Putin.
Okay, fair enough. All right, final one. We got to get back. Let's end up at the grid, but of course, the grid now involves the CCP. So what do we got here?
Oh, dude, this one has me just airsick. There's about 16 stats in here. We all know that I can't talk about the grid without giving a shout out to our national treasure, Meredith Engwin. Her book describes all of this and got me rolling on the grid. Okay. Here's where I didn't know a lot of this. And let me go through this. The CCP has buried codes into a lot of our gear. And let me go into this. Just as a background, 1977, back when I was going to college, I mean, this is kind of frightening. The New York had the blackout due to a lightning strike in the substation. Michael, this helped set the stone, how fragile set the stage that how fragile the grid is. Riots, looting occurred in many poor areas. The other thing about 1977 is 1978, the birth rate spiked because everybody was in the darkness, and it is hilarious when you go back in and everybody attributed. So instead you had baby boomers, and now you had blackout kids.
Darkness babies.
Lots of blackout babies. Okay. Over 200 people died, and it cost $250 billion. Then we had, that was for the Texas one. Here's the list: cyber hacking, Chinese-made electrical infrastructure, electromagnetic pulses, open borders, domestic terrorism, natural disasters. All of these have one thing in common. Any of our substations, any of our transformers, David Blackman has also covered this a lot. Our supply chain will require years to get those parts back online. Let's get down into here. In 2019, a 500,000-pound transformer built by Zhangzhou Hawkpin Transformer Company of China, I butchered that, but it's got to sound fun, of China was commandeered by federal authorities after entering the port of Houston. It was trucked to the Sandias Labs in New Mexico. The transformer had built-in backdoor traps that would allow an adversary to shut down the transformer and thus shut down the grid. An estimated 400 Chinese transformers in the U.S. grid due to winning bids. That can shut the grid totally down.
It's spooky. It's spooky that they have a backdoor into our system. And we've seen this before with Huawei. Not to shift, we're not talking about energy right now, but it really is energy, because Huawei is providing the infrastructure in, the physical infrastructure in which our network economy is built off of. They're spying on us right now. All hail the CCP.
Okay. Here's where the
they want to buy our couple.
Huh?
Nothing. Go ahead.
Okay. Electromagnetic pulses, EMPs. China had their balloon rolling over, and they were documenting our nuclear weapons. They were doing this. It was 100% arranged, and in my opinion, arranged with Diaper Dan. That's pretty funny, calling our president Diaper Dan. That's brand new. And so you heard it here second. And so when you sit back and think, they've been studying this. They own the grid. They own all the parts. And now they have been letting everybody in through the open border. There is a unbelievable amount of young Chinese men that have been coming through the border that are of military age. They're not with a family. They're not traveling as immigration. They're coming in going, we know where the grids are and we know how to go blow them up. All right. Sun Tzu said the supreme art of war is to subdue your enemy without fighting. Man, we are like fighting an unarmed opponent. We're so stupid. Okay.
Yes. Now, I do have a feeling that the neocon establishment wants to go to war with China and will do what they can to convince us that we need to go to war with China. So I'm always skeptical of a CIA veteran writing me an article on how, we need to go to war with somebody. I'm a little bit skeptical. Doesn't mean he's wrong.
Let me throw this squirrel at you. And this is a weightlifting squirrel of about 900 pounds. They have said, and I'm saying our government, the whole key to this is bringing the UN as a peacekeeping force to the United States. They want us to take arms and go nutty. Here's what's going to happen. Right now in Canada, I saw a video last night of UN troops in that area where they have all these massive fires. Trudeau has already started that plan. Watch it. If that is true, you're going to see that is what the Democrats are trying to do to get rid of the.
I'm with you. I don't want war with China.
I don't either. I don't want war with the U.S. I'm a peacekeeping loving kind of guy, but I'm not wearing a mask.
Well, that's me either. Trust me, I will not be wearing a mask.
No, they can stick.
Alex Jones right again? What is it?
It is.
In other news?
Okay. An EMP, I'm going to just mention this real quick. NASA is now putting out there saying that NASA, there's a bunch of new sunspots coming around and everything else. And it's like when I was watching the weather report this morning, EMPs are real. All it takes is one big sunspot. Doesn't even have to be the Chinese, and our grid's dead. And I mean, it's like one sun, and I put that in there just so I could mention that it could be a natural disaster. Prepare for any natural disaster with a 72 and a 2-month so you can survive on your own, because we can see that FEMA is not taking care of our great people in Maui. So you have to be able to stand on your own. That's just my shout out.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. So anything else?
Pretty dang depressing. And for our podcast listeners, I want to apologize on two things and give Michael a shout out. If it sounded like Muttley back there when I was laughing so hard because I was having a little difficulty reading my own writing, Michael, that was an outstanding gig. Thank you very much. And by my laughing like Muttley,
I was gonna say one great. You want to talk about how we could raise money for charity? You and Biden in a reading contest would be absolutely unbelievable.
That was pretty fabulous.
Pretty close. The problem is Biden's got to read your writing and you got to read Biden's writing. I don't know what's worse.
I think I'm going to go join. What's the church that talks in tongues?
Scientology. We got to go put you in an interview. So, all right. Well, guys, quickly cover finance. There's not much that happened this week, other than we saw oil prices settle 79.83. That's about a 1% increase week over week, which is fairly unfortunately dull considering we're all the way up to about $82, $83 throughout the week. Mainly as we covered, the Marathon Oil disaster has really down in Louisiana spiked. Diesel prices, they're up to a year high so far. East Coast is going to get pounded with that. U.S. rig counts dropped by 10. Total rig counts in the U.S. stand at 632. So rig counts continue to fall, Stu, with no end in sight. That probably means, and it's going to be interesting to see what the fallout is from domestic production. Remember, one of the big trends of where production goes, where do rig counts go? We've consistently see rig counts fall and fall and fall. If we're going to be in a supply shortage, we would look to be adding rigs. So this does not bode well for the United States in terms of our domestic production, specifically with the BRICS stuff that we just covered. Spooky. But other than that, fairly chill week. I'm looking at the news wire, Stu. Not much that happened from an oil finance standpoint. So we'll let you guys steer clear and have an off segment. What should people be scared about this week, Stu? You got any predictions?
Diesel's going up, and it's going to go up really high in the East. I want to track what the price difference is between the East and the rest of the U.S. averages, because I'd really like to see what the Russian impact is on the jet fuel. The UK, we just released another article with the UK using massive amounts of Russian jet fuel. I mean, just not like the East Coast. They're really using it. Anyway, it's going to be a great week.
It's going to be a great, scary week, just how Stu likes it. So with that, guys, we're going to let you get out of here, get back to work, and start your week. We appreciate you checking us out. We will be with you all week covering the top energy stories. Again, follow us, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, subscribe to us on YouTube, guys. For Stuart Turley, I'm Michael Tanner. We'll see you tomorrow, folks.